These are the top 6 reasons why you should not buy the new Quest 3. And even though I think it is an amazing VR headset, there are still some important things that most reviews don't talk about. So let's dive right in. Starting with the most obvious one being the much higher price, since the new Quest 3 comes in at a starting point of $499. Keeping in mind that this is also the lowest storage option, so if you are planning on playing lots of games, then you would probably need to have the upgraded version, which normally rocks in at an additional $100, making it double the price of the original Quest 2 headset. But it doesn't stop there, because right out of the box, there are some necessary upgrades to be made. For example, it is almost a must to get a better head strap, especially if you want to play VR for a longer period of time. And the same goes for the audio if you want to take your immersion seriously. So altogether, the price tag can become significantly higher. And even so, it is far from the most expensive VR headset that is out there. But that directly brings us to the second point, because it is also not the best VR headset available. While the Quest 3 will be an absolute beast when it comes to standalone performance, there are still some PC VR headsets that completely blow it out of the water. But of course, these would also come at an even higher price tag, making the Quest 3 sit somewhere in the middle between the cheapest VR headset and the most expensive high-end ones. And although that might be the perfect sweet spot and exactly the reason why some people would get this headset, it is for others who want the absolute best VR experience that money can buy that there will also be other options. But that brings us to the games. Since the Quest 3 is mainly a standalone VR headset, this means that you will mostly be playing games that are optimized for its built-in chipset. Luckily, they made an absolute huge upgrade with their new Snapdragon chip, which is said to have 2 times the performance power compared to the Quest 2, which should make a lot of games look so much better, but also give developers opportunity to create much more complicated and deep VR experiences. But what you do have to keep in mind is that in the end, this is still a mobile processor. So if you want to play AAA titles that you're used to on your console, like Half-Life Alyx, then you would still need to hook it up to a computer, taking into account that you have a buff gaming PC. Otherwise, you will have to do with the games that are available on the Quest store. And although there are thousands of titles for you to try out, there is of course a big quality and content gap between PC VR and complete standalone. But probably the most important point and question is, what if you already own a Quest 2? The good news is that all your games that you have bought on your Quest 2 can be transferred to your new headset, so you won't have to worry of losing anything that you have purchased. But with that said, it is not that easy to say if this upgrade is worth it, since besides the new features like color pass-through and its brand new pancake lenses that we could also see in the Quest Pro, the main reason why you would probably want to upgrade is because of its much higher power. But, like mentioned before, with double the price tag. So I think it might not be worth it for a lot of Quest 2 users. Unless, of course, you can still get a good sale out of it so that you can purchase your Quest 3 at a reduced cost. And for new people, it would also be a heck of a first VR headset. But the fifth and controversial reason is the company Meta itself. Now, while I'm sure that most people don't mind this at all, since a lot of us use Instagram, WhatsApp, and Facebook on a daily basis, it is still an important note to make, because Meta's VR department, which was previously called Oculus, is also responsible for the production and software of all Quest headsets. And for some, this might cause some privacy concerns. And luckily, it is now not needed anymore to have a Facebook account as your login for VR, because this reason got so many users completely banned from the social platform. And to make it even worse, it also bricked a lot of Quest 2 headsets, meaning they lost all the games they purchased and made the headset basically into a paperweight. But Meta has solved this problem by switching to an all-new account type specifically made for Quest. And if you compare it to other VR companies out there, like the Pico headsets, then you will also quickly find out that this is run by the company TikTok. So if you think that is much better, I will leave that to you. But of course, I do think it is important to mention this if you are very concerned about your personal data and privacy. But I also think this should not stand in your way for trying the amazing world and experiences of virtual reality. The sixth reason to not get a Quest Quest 3 is if you have never played VR before. Although this might sound kind of strange, I highly recommend anyone to first try out a virtual reality headset with a friend or family who has one. For example, if they own a Quest 2, just try out some games like Beat Saber or one of the most basic VR experiences that there are. Because while I personally love VR on another level, some other people don't have that at all. So before you make your purchase, give yourself some time to get some VR knowledge and try it out for yourself. And when you are taking into account all of these previously mentioned reasons, and you are a truly hardcore VR fan, then I do think the Quest 3 will be one of the most amazing devices, especially if you're looking for a standalone VR headset. And although it might not be for everyone, I truly can't wait to see how far the Quest 3 will come. But we had even more big VR news. So click on the video you see on screen right now to make sure that you don't miss out.